Okay, does anyone have public comment? Roger, you can't wait. Please state your name and address for the record.
I am Roger Sherman, 5 Fairview Road, and I live close to the golf course, practically one house across the street. I'm in agreement with the consultants that the town had hired that the chlordane spill is contained and it will not travel. I worked in the environmental field for 20 years and done a lot of remediation work. And I feel in the future it's not an area where the public will have access. I've had my well tested last month. I have no contaminants in my well, and I'm pretty close to it. And so I feel that Maria has the right to write her opinion to what she feels that she has to write. And this is my opinion, that we can wait until money is available with a grant, so we could get grant money. Tony's great at that, okay? He can find the money, and if it takes a little bit of time, so be it. I believe that the spill behind the building here, we spent way too much money on that. I never saw anybody dig a hole that big in my life. Okay? Unfortunately, I worked for the company that dug that hole. Okay? And directly after that time there, one of the officers was convicted on padding their bills on another project. Recently after it, and as we were digging that hole there, we were building big walls at the DEP official's house, and it should have been investigated. There was no way, but now time has passed, and so be it. That's water under the bridge, shall I say? But
thank you. That's helpful information.
And I call it the way I see it. I'm an independent, so I'm not leaning either way on this. It's just for the good of the town. I want to thank the Board of Selectmen for the DEP's help over at the clubhouse, doing whatever they can. What little it is or whatever, it's a help. And we're going to have a community cleanup. We're going to have a lot of people this Saturday and the following Saturday to do things around there to help out. That's about it for now.
Thank you, Roger.
Thanks, Roger.
Thank you very much.
I want to clarify, I meant thank you for the information about the wells. Deke.
D. Hotchkiss, 25 Fairgrounds Road. I didn't intend to, but I just wanted to make 2 comments, I believe, on Ryan's presentation. I mean, one, a lot of the dollars were related to the clubhouse. Removal of the clubhouse, the creation of another clubhouse. I believe in the detail there's also removal of the pool, removal of the tennis courts, things like that. I don't think I've heard anybody make a decision that the clubhouse is not usable by the town. And so, I think you need to separate that information. The second piece is, I believe, and Ryan can possibly confirm this, but there would be, or there is in the existing agreement, a revenue sharing agreement. There would be prospectively a revenue sharing agreement. Okay, and for the operations in 2015, $56,000 I think was earned,
56,
or approximately by the town as part of the revenue sharing. And so to get to the $110,000 number that I talked about, it's not a big gap. But that aside, the thing that I wanted to talk about today, and I will, is that the piece of the puzzle or whatever here that's hasn't expressly been articulated is how 2016 is really a pivotal year for golf in this area for a couple of reasons. One, and you've seen in the newspaper that Laurelview has terminated their lease with MDM Golf So the town of Hamden is now back in the same position that we were 5 years ago, where they have a golf course that has no business, it's basically a startup, has no equipment, needs $1 million to $1.5 million worth of maintenance equipment and golf carts, and has a golf course that is in very bad shape. Second issue, or 2016, is the year that the lease on, well, that portion of Oak Lane that constitutes, the lands west of Racebrook, that is basically coming in from Racebrook to the clubhouse, and approximately 10 holes, that lease expires sometime during the summer. The third thing in our marketplace is that if you go down Racebrook Road, you get to Orange Hills Country Club, which was started many years ago by the Smith family. It's always been a family business, and like every family business, they have a serious, or not like everyone, but that right now they have a serious succession issue. And what they decide to do, I don't really know. I mean, what normally happens in a family business when you have no successor is you sell the business. You know, I mean, the value of the real estate, is exponentially worth more than the value of the golf course. And so, one would assume that they would sell the real estate. And the last thing in our marketplace is what is going on and will go on at Great River. And again, where they sold to Sacred Heart University, they've been basically, they have to provide for about 2,000 to 3,000 new rounds, in the sense of new play by students, faculty, and alumni, which is going to cut into the business, or the normal business, or the business that really we compete with in Woodbridge. And so again, you have all these things going on. Now, I'm not recommending staying in this business for a long term, but I am recommending that a 1 year look, or in a year from now, a lot of these things could have happened. And we could suddenly be sitting where rather than experiencing an average or an APR, average per round revenue of $42, it could be $52. It could be $62. I mean, it could be materially greater than it is right now. Now, the most immediate problem, frankly, that I see is that, there's a big piece of our business is the outings business. And I don't know if you're familiar with this stuff, but, a large percentage of it is just charitable organizations. And, they do this as a key fundraising activity. Okay, every year they have a golf tournament. It's critical to them. And right now they're asking us, well, what are we going to do next year? And, we have to say, well, we don't know. Well, that's not a good solution, because, these people need to raise the money. So immediately they get on the phone and start calling elsewhere. So we could, again, this year, I don't remember the budget number. I'm going to say it's $250,000. I mean, that could disappear. The other piece, most immediately is that, and we see it, actually there's a block of, golfers at another club who have expressed an interest in coming. That is, their members at another club expressed an interest in coming. But, would you jump to Woodbridge and then be exposed to, the problem of maybe at the end of the year having to jump back to where you came from? Of course you're not going to do that. So in any event, I really think that we should consider doing a contract for next year. Again, if it's a 1 year contract, I think that I would recommend only doing a 1 year contract. In fact, while these competitive situations clarify.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Amy Morella, 184 Raymond Road. I'd like to take the opportunity to distinguish facts from opinions, and specifically with respect to the Country Club of Woodbridge and environmental contamination. I think, unfortunately, Ellen, you've characterized Maria's article as all opinions, when in fact there is indeed quite a lot of fact in it.
I'm sorry, Amy, I did not characterize it as all opinion.
You have characterized it as opinion, much of it.
I did not, actually. but go ahead.
Okay, well, let's continue. Let me go through the facts. That's what I heard. I certainly heard people saying she was entitled to an opinion. That was sort of where the conversation revolved. But let me get to this, because I know that offense is sometimes the best defense, but I think what is important here is to get at what are the facts. So let's step back to March 9th. March 9th, I had obtained at that point the phase 1, 2, and 3 environmental reports. There was no RAP, remedial action plan, so there was no remedial action plan to review. Apparently it was issued on the same day, that's what it says, but it was not available at the time of the Board of Selectmen's meeting. Now, I gave you a number of questions based on that Phase 3 report, which was issued, marked draft in December 2011. Subsequently found out that the draft was the final. And those questions, I thank you for what questions you were able to ask, because I know I gave you a lot of questions on technical issues right at the meeting itself. I went home and watched it. I did have some follow-up questions, but I also knew I was missing some documents, so I kept asking for documents. One of the things, Ellen, you did not mention is that in addition to the Transfer Act, which is a state law, there is a statute on significant environmental hazards. Now, we knew a little bit about that back in March 9th, but we didn't know everything. What was known was that the town reported a significant environmental hazard to DEP in late March 2011. I actually found out the date subsequent, but late March 2011. I have the document if you'd like it. And that document listed as contamination, chlordane and arsenic in shallow soil at the maintenance area at more than 30 times the direct exposure limit or criteria set by the DEP. We also had in the Phase 3 report a response from DEP that directed the town to take certain interim protective measures and to submit a letter report on what else it was going to do. The Phase 3 report did not contain the response, the letter report back, which I eventually got. That letter is dated May 13, 2011. It's sent by HRP to DEP, and on behalf of the town, DEP details what it calls planned actions to address the significant environmental hazard. HRP then represented that the Phase 3 report would be completed and a quote, a remedial action plan will be prepared and implemented to remediate identified contaminants on the property, including the elevated concentrations of chlordane and arsenic. Those are the ones reported in the significant environmental hazard notification. Now, I think it's important, let me stop before I finish reading what the letter says, and I have a copy of the letter here, which I gave to the Board of Finance a few days ago. I'd be happy to give a copy to the Board of Selectmen. The important thing here is what the previous sentence is, that it talks about a remedial action plan that will be prepared and implemented. Implementing a RAP means that you actually start cleaning up. You clean up. That's what remediation is. It's a fancy word for clean up. So at the time, the HRP, on behalf of the town, represented that the RAP would be prepared and it would be implemented. So then the question is, well, in what time frame, right? So the letter goes on. The letter says as follows, quote, "The timing of the remedial action is dependent on incorporating the estimated remediation expenses in the municipal fiscal budget. Under normal circumstances, funding for the project would become available July 1, 2012, end quote. So, where are we? Back in May 2011, the town's representative, HRP, indicated to DEP, the state agency, that the cleanup was expected to occur in the fiscal year 2012 to 2013. I then asked, well, what happened? I got a copy of the Board of Selectmen's minutes from September 2012 meeting. The people present and voting at that meeting, the selectmen were Ed Sheehy, Lawrence Grothier, Greg Coyne, Susan Jacobs, and Beth Heller. And at that meeting, they authorized HRP to go forward with preparing a RAP. I have those minutes too. The RAP was for the maintenance area, and the estimated cost was $24,800. Let me just get that. I'd be happy to give you a copy of that as well. As I said, it's town records. So the actual proposal for the RAP is incorporated into the records of the town, and the estimate, given the 10% discount, as I said, is the project would take $24,800. I asked for the bills that were issued by, given by HRP to the town, so I could keep track of what work they'd been doing. Tony Genovese indicated to me that you don't necessarily keep the bills, but you do keep munis records, which is the records of payment, and that the town generally paid promptly. So this would be a good estimate of when the bills came in. They certainly wouldn't linger for months. So the bills indicate that there was billing continuing on to going on from beginning in 2009 to January 13th, 2012. There was a bill paid. Then there was no billing until October 2011, October 11th, 2012, which is interesting. That's a 9-month gap, right, until September 2012, when they were authorized to do some more work. So September 2012, the board authorized them to go forward with the RAP, the Remedial Action Plan for the maintenance area, and on October 11th, there was another bill paid. So that seems to suggest that that's when the work on the RAP continued. The bill records then go to show that there's roughly on a monthly basis, there's billing that occurs by HRP to the town and payments due. And the final payment that's in this record is August 13th, 2013. Tony confirmed that this record was run, this record check was run in March of 2016. So if the final bill paid was, the invoice was August 13, 2013, that means there was a gap of 2.5 years or more where no work was billed by HRP. In that time frame, HRP was authorized to complete this remedial action plan. They actually billed the town $24,600+ out of the authorization to bill $24,800, but they didn't actually issue the RAP. They issued this RAP on March 9, 2016. And I think it's important that we lay out the facts, because there was indeed a significant gap between the authorization, and that's my characterization, yes, okay, 2.5 years plus of a gap between the work that was done apparently on this soil remedial action plan and actually the issuance of the RAP. And there was also a time period from September 12, 2012, when the RAP was authorized, the Board of Selectmen, till March 9, 2016, when it was issued. That's a lot of time. Now, the other thing I looked at was the RAP when I got a copy of it. From what I can tell, the additional sampling that was taken to support the remedial action plan was performed on November 15th, 2012. Now, those are the facts that I've been able to obtain. They are supplement the facts that I provided to Maria. Yes, there are some opinions in her article about what you should do going forward, but there are a lot of facts in here, just plain facts. Facts that were not actually discussed or articulated on March 9th, facts that supplement March 9th, 2016, and facts that I think are relevant to the public at large. I have offered you some additional facts. Now I'd like to offer you an opinion. I am personally deeply troubled by the facts that are in the article and by the supplemental facts that I've just offered here. I'm also troubled that even now, that the remedial action plan has been issued. There are town residents who have received notices of remediation that provide no date for starting the cleanup, and at the same time provide confusing statements about the contamination itself. What am I talking about? So the letter itself, which is the notice sent to residents, and again, I have a copy if you'd like to look at it, says, quote, that it informs the letter recipients, quote, levels of pesticides and petroleum-related compounds requiring remediation are the basis for the letter. The letter goes on to assert that, quote, no pesticides were detected above criteria in groundwater at the site, end quote. And what's confusing, and why I say I'm concerned that the letters are confusing, is the letter talks about both pesticides and petroleum-related compounds requiring remediation. But with respect to groundwater, it only discusses pesticides. Now, I am not saying that the groundwater is contaminated, but I am saying that there is confusion here. And I am saying also in this soil remedial action plan, it talks about doing groundwater testing. And I think that, and I'll give you chapter and verse of pages. If you can see, I have tabs. I've taken the time to look at it, and it talks about it will do this test and do that test. So I think that where we are is that legitimate questions about actual facts have been raised. And I'm delighted to hear, Ellen, that you have taken the steps to provide DEP's access directly or to provide residents access directly to DEP folks. Because I think there are a lot of questions, and I think the DEP folks are the best ones to hear them and answer them. I trust that that meeting that will be occurring on April 28th is open to the public. And that anybody who's concerned whether or not they received a notice, because my understanding of the people who receive notices of remediation is a very limited subset of those who live around the country club. I hope that anybody who's interested in this issue will have an opportunity to attend that meeting, and would ask that you make sure that happens. As I said, I have a lot of documents here. If you want copies, I'd be happy to make copies. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, I am Gina Barafati. I live at 6 Canterbury Lane in Wilton, Connecticut. I'm here because my family owns and operates the property you all refer to as Oak Lane in town, at 1027 Racebrook Road, and also a private home on the property and our maintenance facility, which are at 1116 Johnson Road. I felt like I needed to answer to some of the comments that were made tonight by the chairman of the commission that is responsible for oversight at Woodbridge. Our lease is going to expire this summer. That is good news. On the date that lease expires, we will own that half of the property, representing yet another investment that we are making in the town. We've been here for 5 years. We've made significant personal and financial investments in that property. Many of the things that Casper talked about are needs for you folks, we've done. We renovated the building at a large expense. We paved our parking lot, which was also a large expense. We've made upgrades to the property to facilitate public play on a course that was built for private use. These are all large expenses. Having a competitor in Woodbridge across the street has been a unique circumstance for us. It is a subsidized competitor. We are not playing on a level playing field. We have heard a lot about a check last year of $50,000, which was your money they gave back to you at the end of the season. Twice a year I come here myself and I hand you folks a check for $65,000 each time. I'm not asking for any help to do that. We're doing that on our own. The golf business is very difficult. This is a competition-rich environment. We have Orange Hills, Grassy Hill, you folks, we're here. The price pressure that is being placed on the other public courses in this area because of what Casper described and having to continually reduce their rates to achieve the rounds growth that they're trying to get to is affecting us. We feel it every single day. We see the rates are consistently a couple of dollars lower than ours. The tax check that I described, about $5 of every round I sell is represented in that check. So Casper can sell a round for $5 less than I do every day, and we're even. That is not a competitive environment. That is natural. There is a place for municipal golf in a lot of communities. There is not a need for that kind of a subsidy here because we are all selling roughly the same product at roughly the same price. We are all very close, within $5 or $10 of each other. The courses are very similar, and we are literally right across the street from you. So where the need is to create that kind of a subsidy on an operation that, as they said, has yet to turn a profit, where that downward pressure on price affects our ability to continue to make the kinds of investments we want to make in this community. If it's a short-term fix for you folks, we are here for the long term. I would ask that you think about that when you make decisions about continuing a contract with that provider where you will still lose money under it and it will hurt us for the longer term than what the existence of that contract. I know that this isn't a forum where you can answer questions or take questions, but come and visit us at Oak Lane. Ask all the questions you want. I'm always there. We've done a lot of work. We'd love to show it off to you. And that's really what I wanted to say. One other note I just wanted to bring up about what Deke said. The information about Laurel View is possibly also premature. As far as the last information that we have, and we do follow closely the goings on there as we do here, they are considering pulling that lease. They have not yet pulled that lease. And they have, as far as I know, as of 2 weeks ago, did receive a delivery of a fleet of carts for this season. So I just wanted to put that out there. I would ask that folks who sit here in this chair and make representations about your citizens, your taxpayers, please be a little bit more careful about the completeness of the statement. To talk about our losing our lease in the middle of this season could be potentially damaging for us. So we'd ask for some care to be taken in statements like that. Thank you.
Gina.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Katie McGonigal. I live 4 Fairview Road. So I bought my house in 2012 from Judy Cooper. She sold and bought 3 of my homes. So, and so I called her today after reading the letter that was published about what was happening. I have 2 small children. I have 1 on the way, and I actually had a stillborn last year in July. My stillborn was caused by soil contamination, so this touches a little close to home. I'm certainly not blaming anything that's going on. It kind of just got me started. I received no letter. I live closer than Roger. And I contacted about 4 people before I was able to come to the meeting today who live on Johnson Road, on the corners of Johnson and whatever that street is next to me. I can't remember right now. And 4 different households didn't receive the letter as well. So I'm not sure if it only went out to Woodfield residents, but we are certainly as close as the Woodfield residents are to the course. I have some concerns about the fact that the last testing was done in 2011. I appreciate the words about the fact that the remediation started, and yet as I watched the last board meeting on the 9th, that there was no ground to shovel yet, with no plans to do so, is bothersome to me. So I guess I'm just here to please ask you guys for a little bit better communication when it comes to the houses that are directly affected by all of this. Don't know if it was an oversight or not, but I don't even have a idea on the map where all of this is happening. I keep hearing maintenance, and I know I live across from a shed, and I don't think that's what it is, but I was trying to find a map today to see. I saw it in the YouTube video, and yet I can't see that closely. So I guess I'm just asking for the possibility of actual remediation, future testing of any groundwater or soil, since the last testing was in 2011, and just a little bit better communication, especially those of us who are directly on the fringe of this happening. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie.